setting a table. By now you know all the different parts that make up a beautifully set table. The cutlery, crockery, glassware, and table decor. You've also seen all the preparation that's carried out back of house and front of house to ensure that everything is ready. The cleaning, polishing, meetings, and checks. In this lesson, it all comes together in setting tables from start to finish. You already have all the knowledge, we're just putting it all together. As you've seen in the previous lessons, setting up the dining room involves 5 steps. We've already covered the first 4, now let's take a look at the final step, setting the tables. We'll look at a setting for 2 courses, a fish course and a main course, with bread service and a water glass. The table settings at your establishment may be different, but these are the basic principles which will apply no matter where you are. Right, so your chairs and bed tables are set in the correct positions and you fetched your equipment from back of house. What did you fetch? Let's take a look. Linen, cutlery, side plates, glassware, and accompaniments and decorations. Now which do you think is better? A. To do all the tables at once, doing all the cutlery, then all the crockery, then all the glassware. Or B. To set one table completely from start to finish. Let's take a look at what happens if you set all the tables at once. If a guest arrives unexpectedly, all the tables are half set and not a single table is ready. If, on the other hand, he had set one table fully, then moved back onto the next, the guest would have had a fully laid table ready for them. When setting the table, there are 6 steps to follow. Step 1. Place the tablecloths. Step 2. Place the napkins. Step 3. Place the cutlery. Step 4. Place the side plate. Step 5. Place the table decorations. And Step 6. Place the glassware. Let's start with Step 1. Placing the tablecloths. You've got everything you need in front of you. Of all the linen, what do you set first? Remember, we've got an overlay, and underlay, and the napkins. You don't need the napkins yet. So is it the overlay or underlay? It's the underlay. You can tell by the name. It goes under everything else. Then the overlay is placed on top. The underlay is followed by the overlay. From the lesson on linen, what are the important things to remember about the underlay and overlay? Grab a pen and write down all the points you can remember. How many of these did you get? Let's take a look. The tablecloths must be clean, ironed, and undamaged. They must be placed with the seams facing in, out of sight of the guest. The underlay and overlay should hang evenly all around the table, not long on the one side and short on the other. Lastly, the underlay shouldn't touch the floor. Once the overlay is placed, iron the tablecloth on top of the table to ensure that there are no folds or creases showing. Next, Step 2. Place the napkins. Place the napkins in the middle of the setting. Make sure that each napkin is set in the middle, in line with the chair. Getting the spacing right will ensure that each setting is spaced properly. To ensure that all the settings look the same, use a measure. And what better measure to use than your thumb? You can use your thumb or knuckle to check that all the napkins are an equal length from the edge of the table. Just make sure that you're consistent throughout. Let's take a look at Step 3, placing the cutlery. You'll remember from the lesson on an advanced menu sequence that there can be many courses in a menu sequence, and for each course, the guest will need new cutlery. Can you imagine if all those pieces of cutlery were present on each table setting at once? That would be hugely uncomfortable for the guest. Rather, you should set the table for a maximum of 2 courses at a time, allowing for more space for the guest to sit comfortably. If you're setting a table for a fish starter and a main, which cutlery will you need? You'll need 5 pieces of cutlery: a fish knife and fork, a main course knife and fork, and the butter knife. Well done if you thought of the last one. Can you remember where these go? Take a minute to draw a quick picture of the table setting. Now compare your sketch with this setting. Here we have the forks on the left and the fish and main course knives on the right. The blade of the knives should face inwards, towards the plate, so that the guest doesn't have to flip them around before using them. But you'll notice the butter knife is on the left. Remember this, guest. That's why we place the butter knife on the left, for the guest's comfort. Here, the forks are placed with the prongs pointing downwards. This way, the guest can also just pick it up and start eating. Also, less of the fork surfaces touching the tablecloth, keeping it more hygienic. However, at many establishments, the forks are placed the other way round, like this. Also make sure that you place the main course cutlery with a space wide enough for the main course plate at your establishment. This way, you don't need to move the cutlery when you deliver the main course to the guest. In the same way that we used a measure to place the napkins, use your thumb to place the cutlery so that there is 1 thumbnail length, or 1 centimeter, between the edge of the table to the bottom of the cutlery. This way, they are not too close to the edge of the table where it can easily be knocked off or launched into the air. Also ensure that the space between the knives and forks are equal. Next, step 4. Place the side plate. Place the side plate on the left-hand side. When placing the side plate, there should be 2 finger spaces, roughly 3 to 4 centimeters, between the outside cutlery and the side plate. You can then place the butter knife onto the side plate. Each plate should be placed in exactly the same position on each table, so that the settings look exactly the same. Now, step 5. Place the table decorations. Now is when we place any table decorations, including candles or lamps, flowers, and reading material. Your establishment may also place the salt and pepper, or full cruet sets on the table at this stage. The positions will depend on the individual table settings of your establishment. However, there are still a few fundamental rules, no matter what you're placing on the table. What do you think these are? Firstly, cleanliness. Everything on the table must be spotlessly clean and in good condition, whether it's the salt shaker, butter dish, or reading material. Secondly, consistency. The tables must all be set up consistently. For example, you can't have flowers on one table but not on another. The guest will feel very uncared for. And thirdly, preparation. By the time the guest arrives, all the table accompaniments should not only be on the table, but also be ready to use. For example, candles and lanterns must be lit, condiment containers must be full, and butter must be soft. Here is our setting so far. Let's take a look at the last step, step 6. Place the glassware. Regardless of whether the settings have wine glasses or water glasses, or wine glasses used as water glasses, the glasses should always be placed on the right side of the setting, since most guests drink with their right hand. If the glasses were on the left-hand side, it would be uncomfortable for them to have to reach across their setting to reach the glass. Make sure that each glass is placed consistently, just above the main course knife. To recap, let's do a quick fast forward through the procedure for setting a table. Once you have finished the first table, you can do the same for all the tables in the dining area, making sure that each looks the same as the previous. Consistency is key. Have a look at this setting and see if you can spot the mistakes. You would definitely have noticed that this napkin was stained, and this one was very creased. But also, this napkin is folded and placed differently to the others. And there's one last thing. Did you notice that the butter knife is missing here? Well done if you did.